us. This is Denise and Neil with the TOWTalk podcast on our live stream. Hope everyone is doing well. We'll probably just sort of warm up here. Sorry for the delay. That's Neil's fault. We're blaming Neil.
All my fault. It's okay.
Let's see. Let's go into the chat. See if anybody's there. Looks like Neil's there. It's just you.
I'm not there. I'm not even in yet.
Why does it
Oh,
say
there
you're
we go.
there?
Now it is. All right.
Let me see. Somebody's chatting with me.
There we
There we
go.
go.
No, man. No, man.
Okay. Oh, wow. They did. Somebody had called me, and oh, look at that. Speaking of Chester, I just got
Yeah,
someone.
we made a lot of noise tonight. All right, Matthew. Already a
Hello.
comment.
Already. All right. Yeah. Yeah, we did. We. Let me see. I'm only seeing studio chat. Let's go to public chat. There we go. Hey, folks. We logged in a little early just to kind of warm up and give people an opportunity to join us because we always kind of like do it right exactly on time and then of course we forget the delay. So but were you at the event? I guess you
No,
were. We made a lot of noise. I thought he said you made. I'm sorry, I
no, he said
misunderstood.
we.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did. I was actually just looking at the ABC report, and it had us when we were leaving, all chanting, all chanting and screaming as we were
Right.
walking out of the field. They really
Oh,
focused on. Oh, go
I
ahead.
know. I know Matthew. Matthew. Yes, I met Matthew. Matthew and Marcy. I believe that they are the. I want to say Oregon couple, right?
Oh,
Who are there? If
oh.
I'm not mistaken.
So this is a couple that you met at inside the inside, right? Yeah. No, I
No,
didn't
no,
get.
at a meeting I went to on Saturday.
Oh, okay. So something separate. Oh, nice.
Yes,
Well,
so they are. That's great. Thank you for joining us. Appreciate it.
so
We
we're.
definitely want so I spoke with Marcy. Marcy is from Oregon, and I had spoken with her. I asked her to be
Solidarity
on
with
the
Portland.
at right, and I asked her if she wanted to come on at some point. Hopefully, she will join us at some point in time. And she was there the first time around when the protests were going on in Oregon. She was a medic, and so I asked her to come on at some point in time, and hopefully in the future she will join us on the podcast and tell us her experiences from Oregon and maybe some of the things we can do to help spread the word of some of the things that are happening in the county and in the Hudson Valley so that we can kind of protect ourselves.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, you
She
guys.
said yes, absolutely. Yeah,
Yes.
that's great.
Yes. Yeah. Because you guys are doing it right, and out in Portland, and now of course what's going on in Minneapolis is just atrocious. And
Yes.
yeah, yeah. We recorded an episode regarding that event, and uh, we got pretty emotional, and I've just been sort of afraid to pull the trigger because there is just so much emotion around this topic.
You haven't
And
released the video yet?
not yet. I'll
Oh.
probably do it later. I'm gonna edit it, but like every time I'm editing, it's like more stuff comes out about this and more stuff, and it's just
But it
and
doesn't change
I,
anything we said.
that's true. That's true.
It doesn't change anything we said. I mean, listen, all the stuff that comes out, it still comes down to it was a lynching.
Yeah.
Like let's be clear about what is happening, right? Like that was a lynching, okay?
Like
Let's be clear about what happened. Them going door to door, right, is not equivalent to the SS going door to door. It's equivalent to slave owners, right?
yeah.
Like the slave owners going door to door, right, looking for slaves. Okay? like this is U.S. history. This isn't like we don't need to look at Nazi Germany to see, equivalents. This
Yeah,
happened in this
I
country
agree.
before. The laws that we have today were because of those incidents that occurred back then. And now we're repeating the same exact scenarios over and over again, right? And I only say it was a lynching because what happened, right? There was a shooting today. What did ICE come out and say? Oh, they weaponized the vehicle. There was a shooting in Oregon the day after Renee Good, right? Same thing. They weaponized the
Weaponize the
vehicle,
vehicle.
right? We're seeing the same thing, right? There was a guy on who I said today, who I saw today, right, who came out and said he was trying to parallel park. An officer came up to his driver's side window, and as he was communicating with the officer on the driver's side window, three other officers flanked the car. One in front, one on the side, and one on the back. And the officer on the side is yelling at him to move his vehicle. Okay?
And
While
where did
the
this
officer
happen?
This happened in Chicago. While the officer is standing in front of the vehicle, the officer on the side of the vehicle is saying move your vehicle, and the officer in front of the vehicle, right, had his hand on his gun. Right? They are giving conflicting orders. This is a pattern for them. They flank the vehicle, they give you an order to move your vehicle. The person then moves the vehicle, and the person is standing in front, and the other ICE officer, because you now have them all around your car, is now in front of your vehicle, and that gives them license to shoot you.
Yeah.
Okay? Right? What do you do in that instance? All right? So just a little advice, right? If an officer tells you to move, and there's an officer standing in front of you, on the side of you, and behind you, right? Then you need to turn to that officer and you say, "Am I being detained?"
Yeah.
That's your response. Am I being detained? Right? If they say no, then you say, then you need to move out of the way of my vehicle. You need to give them instructions, right? Move out of the way of my vehicle, and I will move my vehicle.
Nope.
Okay? Right? What's happening is that they're yelling at people to move the vehicle, and they can't go anywhere.
Yeah.
They can't go anywhere. So what ends up happening? You get then pulled out of your vehicle and beat the crap out of. Okay? Because you didn't move their vehicle when they instructed you to do so, and then they say you didn't follow orders.
There you go.
Okay? So it's either follow the orders and get shot, or don't follow the orders and get the crap beat out of you. Those are your two choices.
Yeah.
Obey or die.
Yeah.
Obey or die.
Yeah, that's where we're at. It's really it's just outrageous where we are right now. I never thought I'd see this in my country.
Racist, but the country's
racism has always been here. But before we get started, I continue. I just want to see that we're getting on 8:00. I know we Neil and I just happened to be here. We just decided to get going, so we're warming up, and and of course we're talking about the news of the day. So if you're just joining us now, my name is Denise. This is Neil. Just a quick background. I am I'm a retired 26-year legal professional with litigation experience in both civil and commercial procedure. I've also done trial preparation and worked on organizing exhibits and investigations. I am currently a small business owner here in Orange County, New York. I cover the Middletown area. And I'm also, as you can see, a part-time podcaster. So, Neil, why don't you give the folks a quick background on yourself?
Oh, really prefer not to.
He's very shy. He's extremely shy.
I don't need people doxing me,
Yeah, that's true.
But basically my background is in finance. I used to work in investment banking for the big four accounting firms. And I was a councilman in the town of Wackel for a period of 8 years. And now I do accounting work for a local municipality in the area. So,
that just so for those that don't know us, or maybe you're new to a podcast, because we started out not even really introducing ourselves because we were local and everybody knew us. So, or didn't know us, but kind of, yeah, I've seen them around. So figure we introduce ourselves and just kind of give us just background of where we come from. And obviously we have an interest in politics. I will say this, I have never thought I would ever be an activist. Like, I definitely have opinions working in a legal, when you work in a legal capacity, you do develop, for me, I always developed a need to help the little guy. I always root for the little guy. It's just kind of the way I am. But never thought I'd be an activist like this, going out into a field like last night in the middle of January, freezing my ass off. I was literally shaking by the end of this rally, holding my phone up, recording, trying to record, and I'm pretty sure near the end, I've got a whole about 45 minutes of content that I'm going to be uploading little by little by little about the rally. And by the way, that's what we're going to be talking about here in at least the early part of the segment. As many of you know, there was a meeting and rally in the town of Chester with regard to a proposed ICE facility that I think it's the PEP Boys building.
In the village of Chester.
It's
in
right.
the corporate park in the village of Chester, yes.
And that's where all those big, most of us, maybe if you're like me, I always thought that was the town, but that's actually the village, that huge industrial park with all those huge, big buildings in there, warehouses and stuff. And it was incredible. I got there right about at 6:30 on the dot, and you couldn't get down LaRoe Road. It was just a line of cars that went on forever. I ended up parking on a side street. My husband came separately because I was out working, and we were parked out in who knows where. We had to go walking, and I was amazed. I never got inside, and you'll tell us what went on inside. And they set up a rally out, I guess, what is that, like a ball field right next door?
It's a park.
It's a park. Well, they went into the park, and there was a few hundred people and out there, and we were just dancing and cheering and having speeches and talking to the crowd, and it was really quite an event. It was great to see just how many people came from all over. This was not a localized event. I met people from Dutchess County. There was a journalist, an independent journalist who traveled down from Columbia County after having gone to another demonstration up in Albany earlier that day. And I actually have his speech queued up, and I'll play that for you a little later. And all the counties were represented: Sullivan, Rockland, as I said before, Dutchess, Putnam, Ulster County was also represented. Everybody was there, and it was a great event, and it was great to talk to people. I met, by the way, I met Don Kilcoyne, who appeared on our podcast during the campaign. He's a great guy, and he's just really great at just keeping a crowd motivated, and it was great to meet him in person. We got to have him back. So give us a recap. What was going on inside? You were inside where everybody was talking.
I was inside. Basically, there were a lot of people who signed up to speak. They basically limited comments to about a minute. I want to say 2 minutes for each person in order to get as many people to speak as possible, right? You want to give everybody the opportunity to speak who was there, who signed up. And so they gave everybody about a minute or two, and they limited it to I believe an hour of comment period. So there was about an hour for people to speak. Mike Sussman spoke. Mike Sussman is an attorney, a civil rights attorney here in Orange County. He ran for county executive this past election cycle. Just to give some background on him, he spoke. There were a lot of, individuals who spoke about it. I do want to bring up one story that really sort of hit home for me, and I just think is absolutely 100% evil in every single way. Um, so there was a guy there who, he was a priest, and he runs a children's immigrant, right? I guess
Well, like a
daycare type of thing,
daycare
right?
center.
You
Okay.
know, right? So he works with immigrants, on going through the legal process to get their legal status in the United States, right? So he works with asylum seekers and various other things, and he works with their families, right? And he helps, with caring, right? Providing care for these children, when the parents have to work and do whatever, right? So he had said that 20 of his children, right, that are in his, in his thing, um, have lost one parent. 20 have had their parents taken away from them. 20 children who have lost at least one parent, right?
Wow.
Who have not spoken to their parents in months, right? Have not seen their parents in months, have no idea where their parents are. Okay? These are children.
How
Fuck you, Donald
traumatizing
Trump. Fuck you, Donald Trump.
for
That's
doing
all I got to
this.
say, right? That's just pure evil. I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit.
He did this
What?
in the first term too. I like,
This
and they were all angry about it then. It's
it's
just,
all
and
fucking cruelty. It's just sheer the anybody thinking, anybody's out there thinking, okay, honestly, anybody out there thinking, right, that there's a goal, okay, that this goal is about deporting people or this goal is about this or that. It is not. It is about just sheer cruelty. That's it. It's to inflict as much cruelty on the American population as possible. Okay? Right? I don't care
imagine
whether
being
you're
that
an immigrant. I don't
vindictive.
care whether you're an American. I don't care. You don't do these things. You don't shoot people in the street. You don't take parents away from children. You don't do these things. This isn't what America believes in. This isn't what we've been talking about, human rights violations and all these other things, right? Going into other countries. We just went to Venezuela to pull their dictator president out of their country because of human rights violations. We're committing the same ones here.
Iran. He's going to protect all the protesters in Iran, but meanwhile beat up the protesters here in America. Think about
Right.
that.
Right. I mean, this, and anybody who says this is hyperbole or, we're exaggerating or whatever, just look at what happens in Minnesota right now. Just look what's happening. People being dragged out of their cars. Americans. These aren't immigrants. These are Americans. Right?
Yeah,
You know,
there. I want to point something out. Just in, I was watching. I think it might have been Kyle Kalinske, Secular Talk, where he pointed out that right now there are roughly about 3 times as many ICE agents in Minneapolis as there are police,
police officers.
actual
Yeah.
local police.
Right.
You don't need 3,000 people to run a an immigration.
No, but
Whatever.
they're going door to door and they're breaking into houses, right? Like this is they're violating people's Fourth Amendment rights, right? Like you have a constitution. Either we believe in that constitution or we don't believe in that constitution, right? You can't sit there and preach Second Amendment, Second Amendment, Second Amendment, right? And then forget about the First, Fourth, Fifth, Seventh, and 14th Amendments, right? Like you can't do that. All amendments are equal. Right?
Yes.
If you believe in one, then you have to believe in all of them, right? And what they're showing is that they don't believe in any of them, not even the second, right? They don't believe in any of the amendments. What they believe is they believe in their power, okay? And the things that I've heard, right, like these ICE agents say, "Oh, obey or die," or "Did you not see what we did to that woman 3 days ago?" Right?
Yeah,
Like
they've been doing that.
that, right? Like, you know what that is? You know what that is? That's an abusive spouse. Okay, that's what it,
Yeah.
right? Like, think about this, right? Like, these men that they're hiring, right? Probably beat their wives. Okay, let's be clear about who these people are, right? Because they're misogynists, right? They go out there and
Oh yeah.
they make misogynistic statements, right? That basically they can do whatever they want to women. We have women that are being raped in bathrooms, right? We have women that are being assaulted in their cars, right? Like, I mean, these aren't real men. These
Look
aren't
at
real.
what
I'm
happened.
sorry.
What they.
These are not real men because
Oh
real
no.
men don't do those things.
That's absolutely right. There was a really disturbing video of a young woman. She, of course, I guess they were triggered by her green hair, and they first got a hold of her. They got her in the car. I don't know what. Obviously, they were detaining her because she was a protester. She did break free. She runs. They run her down, catch her, bring her back, and they brutalize her in front
Yep.
of everybody. I think somebody threw their hands around this woman's neck, and then tried to gouge her eyes out, like stuck their fingers over her eyes, and they broke bones. I mean, it's just it's it's mind-boggling where we are right now. I'm not going to go and pull that video up. You can go and do some search. I think that's another one. I'm a big fan of Secular Talk with Kyle Kalinske. He just always really gets a lot of these stories that he gets from places you don't see anywhere else, and he brings the receipts. And the video is very disturbing to watch. And then there was another one that I saw where I guess they stopped off next to a porta potty,
Yep.
and yep, that the guy takes a woman out as he steers her towards the porta potty. He slips and falls on the ground, but then gets up and goes in with her. Like,
Yes.
what did he need to go in there with her for? You could stand outside. She's not going to get away.
No,
She's
but
y-
this is what they're doing. They're brutalizing, and on top of it, right? You have Geo Group, which is the private prison corporation that manages all the ICE facilities. Okay, there have been women who have been raped and brutalized in those facilities, and they're in court saying they have immunity. Right? They're not denying that these things are happening. They're just saying, no, we have immunity. You can't prosecute us, and you can't take our money away from us. Right? This is essentially what we're hearing. Right? Is the fact that the federal government now can do whatever the hell it wants. Nobody has any rights. Right? And if they want to kill you, they can kill you. If they want to beat you, they can beat you. And if they want to rape you, they can rape you. That's where we are right now. I had to hear from these right wing MAGA assholes. Okay, I had to hear about bail reform, right? For a period
right.
of like 3 fucking years, right? And the thing with bail reform, they were talking about women, right? The whole thing was about women, okay, and women being uh, that these men were getting let out because rape in certain instances or sexual abuse in certain instances is a misdemeanor, right? Or it's considered a low level felony, right? So these people were getting out, and that's what I hear about. But now these right wing assholes are sitting there raping, sexually abusing, they're doing all these things. And what we see is that's why the law is so lenient on these type of criminal violations, right? Because the people committing these criminal violations are the same people that are in charge.
Amazing.
Like
Yeah.
like I've had enough. I've really had enough, right? If you believe that crime against women, then increase the penalty and say that officers, agents, officers, everybody who commits these crimes automatically loses their badge, automatically loses their gun rights, and ends up
Mm-hmm.
in jail,
Yeah.
right? Like, that should be the minimum. That should be the minimum. But every time it's like we're going to look the other way. right? Crimes against women, we're going to look the other way. But then when it comes to bail reform, we're going to scream and cry, okay? Except for when it's then.
Oh yeah, that's where we are right now.
Right. And you know, it just really pisses me off. Like I've never thought I would see the day when in America that I would see this. I just
Yeah.
never thought I would see the day. You know, I had an uncle who died in Auschwitz, right? My family fled. My grandparents fled Nazi Germany. Like you got to be fucking kidding me
That this is where we are right now.
that this is where we are.
Well, I will say this, that there has been kind of a groundswell of opposition to this. People in Minneapolis are standing up. I saw another video where a woman ordered DoorDash, and the DoorDash driver, I guess the
Yeah,
ICE changed the
I
DoorDash
heard that.
driver,
Yep.
and she ran into the house. She was terrified. She was absolutely, you could hear her crying. She was so terrified. That woman had a baby in her hand who owned the house.
Yep.
She and her husband stood their ground and said, "You don't, unless you have a judicial warrant, you are not coming on my property," and chased them away and got them to leave because they were trying, you're not breaking in my house. And so I thought that was, so people are standing up, people are speaking up, just like we did last night. For those of us who could not get inside the building, we went outside to that park, and I'd say a couple of hundred people strong. I don't know. So Matthew, you were there. Do you think there was? I'm thinking like at least a couple of hundred people were out there, all chanting and singing. We gave speeches, and I wanted to. Let me see if I got the clip up, or if I'm able to show it. Oh, here it is. I wanted to share with you a clip from the journalist who had come. I think his name is Brian, who had come from Columbia County, because he has an interesting story. He talked about having been, because he's a journalist, having been brutalized himself. And let me see. Let me share this. Oops, I always hit the wrong button. Share screen. Is this it? Let's see. Nope. I think this might be it. Sorry.
You're good.
No, that is not what I'm showing. It's the video is not going to show. Let me cancel that. Stop sharing you. I have it all set up.
I know,
And
right?
it's-
Isn't that always the way?
I have it all set up, and it's showing up black and not. Let me try it that way. Let me see if it works that way. I'll do it one more time. No, it just does. No? Oh, there it is. There we go. All right. All right, let's play this. Just listen to this.
Can't hear it. Can't hear it. Yeah. Matthew says over 300, maybe 400 were there for sure. Can't hear it, Denise. I don't know why. Denise, can you hear me?
Yes. Oh, good.
I can't hear the video.
Oh, you can't hear the video?
No, nobody can hear the video.
Oh, that's so weird.
That's what I was trying to tell you.
Oh, folks, I'm sorry. I can hear it like loud and clear here. You know what I'll do? Gee, I'm sorry. Let me just stop sharing then. This isn't working out the way I was. Sorry, we're still learning how to use this stuff. And it should have it's he was giving a speech. His name is Brian. He is a an independent journalist. And what I'll do is I will get a clip up. Later on, I'll process that and get that out so you guys can see what he had to say. I can't process it in here while I'm in Riverside, or I will just disappear. My whole
Right.
screen will back up. But yeah,
What yeah, why don't you edit those videos, and then we can deal with that on Sunday when we do our taped version.
yeah,
Um
yeah. But I'll
yeah.
keep. I already. You guys might have seen. I released the clip from that I took of the guy dressed as Captain America.
Right.
That's already a reel. You can go back to our Facebook page and and check out reels. I did that last night because I thought it was pretty entertaining, and it was great. Okay, so yes, let me put this up on screen here. So tomorrow night, 6:30. So the town of Chester, they're doing another demonstration, right, about this.
Right.
So that's, well, you said that's also, is that the town board meeting?
That's a town board meeting, yes. That is a
Okay.
town board meeting. So there are a couple of things that I would like to just say and address. The first one being, all right, I mentioned although Denise hasn't talked about it. We spoke about it the other night, but I do want to mention it tonight since it's not posted yet. All right. One of the things
Yeah, this.
that we talked about on Sunday in the video that we'll be talking about, or that Denise will post later.
Yeah.
U.S. border agents intentionally stepped foot in front of moving vehicles to justify shooting them. This was a report that came out that DHS released in 2013. Okay? This is an article from 2014. Okay? You may think, oh, well, that's an old article. This is a pattern.
They're still doing it.
Okay? They are still doing it. They're being trained to do it. Okay? People aren't being trained to weaponize their vehicle. They're being trained to step in front of vehicles to support lethal force. Okay? That needs to be gotten out. People need to spread the word on that, because the last thing we need for people to do, right, is to step on their gas and have an ICE agent jump out in front of their vehicle just to shoot them, right? Because then more people are going to be dead. You want to protect yourself, you want to protect others. That's the best way to do it. Is again, make sure everybody's out of your way and demand that they move.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't
Demand that they
try.
move, right? Like, I mean, this is absolutely insane. Their whole goal is to give conflicting orders, step in front of your vehicle and shoot you. That is what they're being told to do. Okay? Take it whatever way you want, right? I know news reports aren't talking about that, but that is absolutely 100% happening. You look at the way they operate, right? They operate in large packs, they surround your vehicle, somebody orders you to move, and somebody's standing in front of your car, and what they tell you is move your vehicle or we're going to take you out of the vehicle. And then before they even give you a chance to move, they're reaching into your vehicle. So you feel, right, like all of a sudden now you have a lot of anxiety, and what do? You're like, okay, I'm out of here. Like, I don't want any part of this. I'm out of here. And there's a guy standing in front of your vehicle holding their gun ready to shoot you. Like,
Yeah.
just be very, very careful. Okay. Something else that came up, right, at last night's meeting inside, and I really want to bring this up because I found it very, very interesting. Right, we kind of all knew that the PEP Boys warehouse, right, was owned by a billionaire Trump contributor. Right. We all had that idea. We all kind of knew that. It was revealed last night. It's owned by Carl Icahn Companies. Right, Carl Icahn is a is a famous corporate raider from the 80s, right? Who made billions of dollars basically, doing leveraged buyouts, right? When LBOs were big in the 80s. Okay. And now he's a real estate guy, right? So he owns a ton of real estate. He's been looking to unload that PEP Boys warehouse for a while now, right? And basically the Trump administration is offering to take it off his hands. Is essentially what it comes down to. This is basically taking our tax dollars, right, and putting it into private billionaire hands, right? Which is what I've been saying this whole
It's been
time, right?
happening all along.
This administration, right? All of everything that's happening, right, is about the cruelty, but the cruelty is meant just as a distraction so that they can extract wealth from us, right, and give it to their billionaire donors. Okay, and that isn't talked about enough, but that's what this might be, right? That's all this might be is, listen, he wants to unload the warehouse. The government's willing to buy the warehouse, take it off his hands, give him a pool of money, right? Another company will come in, which the government will give tons of money to. Who knows if this warehouse, if this is any of these transactions are legitimate, right? Like that's the thing, right? Like, the federal government hasn't even contacted the town or the village. So how much of this is reality and how much of this is getting outraged for the public in order to get a transaction, in order to extract money from the public, right? So that the public doesn't see the transaction that's happening behind the scenes.
Behind
right?
the scenes.
We see that all the time, right? They're making a transaction behind the scenes. This is the veil that they're doing the transaction under, but then it never happens, right? We saw that with Doge, right? Doge was going to save us all this money, and we had all this hype around Doge, but Doge ended up costing us money. But really, what was it? It was a data theft, right?
That's exactly what it was. I said that all along.
Right. They were just taking all the data and then privatizing it and then monetizing it.
Yeah. And then using it to commit surveillance of all of us.
Well, it's monetizing it, right? So they gave it to a private companies who came up with who had the surveillance mechanism in place, right? They had the software, they had the app, they had whatever. Okay, they just didn't have the data. They need the data to make whatever it is work. Well, they built these things, they didn't have the data, so Doge went in, got them the data, so that they can make their things work.
Yeah,
It's just it's just a scam. Everything is like one big scam to extract wealth from Americans and push it on upward, right? It's reverse Robin Hood, right? Everybody keeps talking about socialism, but this is fascism. This is what fascism is. It's the idea of taking wealth from us, from the working class, and filtering it on up to the wealthy.
Yeah, this has been going on. It's been going on for a long time anyway. And now
they're doing class warfare.
And I'm gonna shift gears just a little bit since we're talking about extracting wealth and how that's going to impact Americans here. Let's pivot to what happened on Sunday. So Trump has been for a long time pushing to have the Fed chairman, Jerome Powell, right, dramatically lower interest rates, and he's pushing back. He's not doing it. So he pushed Janine box of wine mom Pirro to right, we're going to use that. Now we're wine moms. That's the new thing they're calling us, that a protest. We're wine moms now. So box of wine mom Pirro to go and start an investigation of Powell. And the never mind the rest of us, most of us had been distracted, which is also part of all this. The financial community and the markets reacted on Monday, and the markets went down. And there's a lot of this can be a very serious thing if he succeeds in getting taking over, getting rid of Powell and taking control of the Fed. And there's some serious implications. And you being the financial expert, I was wondering if you could talk about that a little for everybody and share your thoughts.
You know, the Federal Reserve Bank is not my expertise. I will say that right up front with everybody. But they do control interest rates as it relates to the discount window. Okay. So the Fed loans money to banks, institutional banks, right? It's not the interest rates that they do is not for us. It's the banks. The
Right.
banks are what pay that interest rate, right? So say what you want. I mean, like when Hank Paulson was Fed chair, right? He lowered interest rates basically to zero and was like giving free money out to the banks, right? Which is what everybody kind of was saying was you're giving free money out, but it's American money. It's our taxpayer money that you're giving out, right? So the issue is that the president and his administration are spending money like nobody's business, right? The debt is increasing. They're whatever they're just spending money, and so Trump wants to lower interest rates because he's borrowing more, right? Like when you're borrowing, you don't want to have higher interest rates. You want lower interest rates when you're borrowing, especially as much as he is, you know. But when you lower interest rates, there's an effect that occurs,
Right.
right?
Okay.
And it could end up leading to higher inflationary rates. It could lead to stagflation. I mean, there are like a whole mess of economic things that it could end up leading to, right? That people aren't necessarily aware of. And part of the issue why this hasn't been a significant issue in the past, all right, has been the fact that the US dollar is the reserve currency of the world. Most people don't know what that means. In some circles, they call it the petrodollar, right? It means that futures or oil can only be bought with the US dollar. This was an old deal that was made by Ronald Reagan and Saudis. Okay. So OPEC, that sells oil, right? The oil consortium, they basically said we're only going to allow the US dollar to buy and sell oil. So they go to the futures exchange, which the United States has a monopoly on and has the market on, and they buy oil, right? So if other countries are maintaining a pool of US dollars in order to be able to make those transactions, it keeps our dollar stable. That's what keeps our dollar stable, right? Is the idea that even if you put more money into the system, somebody's gobbling that up,
Right. Okay.
right? So it really maintains. What changed? Brinks. Brinks went live, okay? Venezuela, Brazil, right? China, Russia, Iran have all been transacting in the yuan to buy and sell oil. Okay? When Trump says that Venezuela stole US oil, he's not talking about back in the day when Hugo Chavez, right? Like when Hugo Chavez nationalized the oil wells, right? That's not really what he's talking about. He's talking about the fact that Venezuela has been transacting and selling oil without going through the US futures exchange. That people are buying oil, that China's buying oil with the yuan. So it's weakening the dollar, which is what we're all feeling, right? Like we all know that the dollar is weaker. It doesn't buy as much as it used to buy, right? Well, that's a result of the weakening dollar worldwide, as a result of Brinks that's come
So
about.
so let me ask you this, because if Trump was to take over the Fed, which is what I think what his ultimate goal is,
You
and I do
can't, but
understand
yeah,
it. There's
I
some
know what you're talking about. Yeah.
okay. So let's use another example here. So Turkey uh, did just that. The Turkish dictator took control of their Fed, and it
Mhm.
had a devastating impact on their economy with regards to inflation.
Yes.
It has soared out of control.
Yes.
Does that mean we could see that kind of situation here? Like we already have enough inflation as it is.
Oh, you're
The
talking, you could be talking hyperinflation at that point. So the Fed really has two mechanisms, right? That two levers that they really focus on. Okay.
Okay.
One is the discount window, right? Which everybody knows about is the interest rates, right? The other side of that is the capital requirements for the bank, okay, for banks. So when banks basically take the money from the discount window and they lend it out, right? The whole idea of the discount window is giving more money to banks so that more banks have money to lend, right?
Okay.
We don't want banks holding money, and the way banks make their money is they make their money off of margin. So what they do is they take money from savings accounts or whatever, right, and they loan it to somebody else, and then they're paying this person 1% and they're gaining 3%, so they make 2%, right, on the margin, right? I mean, that's how banks work. It's a fairly simple like profit, the way they profit, right? It's like they take money, they borrow money here and they lend it out over here for a higher rate, so they make money on the margin,
They make more.
right?
Yeah, but in this case, if the
but
dollar shrinks,
but
yeah.
here's the other side of it.
Okay.
Banks also have to maintain capital requirements, okay? So banks have to keep a certain amount of money, right, on the side, because if the market crashes, if something happens, they want to know that the banks have the ability to pay off their debts,
Yeah.
right? We saw this in 2000, what was it, 2008, right? Whatever, with the crash, right? We
Yeah.
saw this with the big crash before Obama took office.
Yeah. The
Okay,
housing crisis.
the housing crisis, all that, right? If the bank ends up with, if the banks aren't maintaining enough capital requirements, okay, they can go bankrupt pretty quick. The market goes down, the securities that they're holding goes down, whatever it may be, they could end up holding the bag, which is what happened the last time, right? I mean, they got called on insurance swaps and ended up having to pay out all this money, but then they didn't have the money to pay out because the stock
Yeah.
market went down too, and they couldn't sell their stocks, and it ended up being this circular thing. Well, if Trump gets his way, he'll lower capital requirements and lower interest rates, which will only lead to hyperinflation afterwards, because then the banks won't have any money. They're gonna put everything out because they want to make as much as possible, right? With no interest rates, it's and then what ends up happening is the banks will have issues paying debt. Then you're going to have calls, and then you're going to end up having swaps come in, at which point in time the market will be a complete mess and banks will go bankrupt. The government will have to step in and do bailouts again. I mean, we're talking worse than
Who
the Great
pays the
Depression.
bailouts? Yeah, that's exactly what I
We're
heard.
talking worse than the Great Depression. That's what we would be talking about.
You hear that, folks? So while we've got war in our streets, we have them in the background looking to fuck up the banking system. That could cost us. We'll pay that. We end up paying
But
that.
they don't. Yeah, but they don't care.
No,
Again,
no,
it's
they
it's
got their money.
extracting. It's extracting wealth from. They want us poor and destitute. They want us to be slaves again. They want to get rid of, the 40-hour work week. They want to get rid of that. They want to get rid of
Yes.
child labor. We see them. They want to get rid of child labor laws. They want to enslave the American people to do their bidding. You hear it every day. The new slogan, right? Obey or die. It's all hand in hand.
So does anybody have any comments about this that you want to share? I know it's a little heavy topic here, but we've got a lot of heavy stuff going on, and all of this going back to, I know we're a local podcast. All of these scenarios impact us here at home. You know, so
It's
that's
it's it's the
oh, go
shock
ahead.
doctrine. It's the shock
Yes,
doctrine. It's the shock doctrine. So it's the idea of overwhelming the populace with all these things, right? So it overwhelms the senses and you don't know what to focus on. Okay?
yes,
And the ultimate goal, right, is to extract wealth. I mean, that's the ultimate goal, is to extract wealth from us as the working class, right? And filter it on top, you know?
amazing, amazing
It
that
it
we're
really is. Like, I mean, I'll go back to when I was at work, right? Um, most people aren't aware of this, but back in the early 2000s, um, institutional investors, your pension fund, right? Your pensions, okay? That is considered an institutional investment. Pensions used to not be able to invest in private investments, okay? They only could invest in the stock market. That was it. Or something that was AAA rated or whatever, right? Like it
right,
was they had to invest in secure investments. Okay.
right. That makes sense.
Goldman Sachs pushed, okay, the idea that institutional investors, these pension funds, could take 5% of their investment portfolio and invest in private investments. Okay. They pushed for that. They then sold, once George Bush passed that bill, right, and they pushed and they lobbied for that bill, right, they sold all the institutional investors, all the private investments that they could sell, right, so that they would max out on the 5%. 2001 hits, the market crashes, right?
Right,
The
but
tech
that was
the
the
tech
dot com.
right,
The
that
tech.
was the dot-com boom crashed, right? All the investments crashed. What ended up happening? Well, there was a revaluation of all their public investments. They all came down. Now all of a sudden the private investments that don't get revalued, right? That stay the same amount. Now all of a sudden all these pension funds had way more than their legal allocation, right? It went
Wow.
their private investments went from 5% to 10% of the portfolio because of the devaluation of their public stocks. Goldman Sachs came in and they were like, "Oh, we'll take that off your hands for 10 cents on the dollar." And that's what they did. They took it all off their hands. They basically stole money from pension funds. Okay? Right?
Wow.
They ended up buying all this back for 10 cents on the dollar, and 3 years later ended up selling it back, right? To the public, to the institutional investors, right? For $3 to $5 on the dollar. Right? So, I mean, they made a fortune of money, right? Off of that little scam. Off of that little scam. And it was all because the politicians, right, decided that they were going to give the banks what they want, right? Like, that's all we see is the banks and the billionaires get exactly what they want,
And the
right?
rest of us get screwed.
And anytime, right, you hear 80% of the public want something.
Yeah.
And you hear Democrats, right? Democrats are like, "Oh, that's too popular. We can't do that." Like, I mean, come on. It's
Uh,
insane. It's absolutely insane.
we are. I'm gonna just go back to what we continuously say. I think we lost our audience or got
No, we have
disconnected.
two
No.
left.
Okay. Yeah. I think I might have been
Oh,
lagging a
maybe
bit.
me and Marty. I think it's me and
Yeah.
Marty.
That's all right. But I want to go back to something that we say that we talk about all the time, and that is the importance of not just voting, whether you're going to vote Democrat or Republican, but we're going to have to primary everybody. If you really are a working class person, that what they're doing is they're going to make this hurt financially in the pocketbook. And it wasn't, me growing up in the, in the 70s and 80s, it wasn't that bad, like it is today. People, people in their teens that are going to be going out, going to college, if they can even get to college or afford college now, they don't, their prospects are not that great because they don't have the opportunities that, like Neil and I had to go to college to get, if we needed to go a loan, we could get a loan, or we could even get, a Pell Grant or something, some assistance to help us get through college. They took all that away in order to prevent, the working class from getting educated so they could go out and actually compete with these billionaires. They don't like the competition. The idea of the streets paved with gold and being able to build a business and make it grow and become a successful and be able to be wealthy, they're taking that away. And that's the reason why we see so much of this deregulation that causes what's happening here, which Neil just spoke about with regard to the pension funds. It's just another way of stealing from us what we earned, you know? And so I want to just remind people to examine your candidates. We have to primary them and get them out and get some regulations back on the books again that will protect us and our investments. Do you agree with me?
I absolutely agree. I mean, there is the story of Oakley glasses. How many
Okay.
people know about the story of Oakley glasses?
Never heard of
Right.
it.
So Oakley made most people in the '90s remember the Oakley glasses. Everybody like was wearing them. They were like the trendiest glasses ever. Everybody like wanted the Oakley sunglasses. Okay, and what people didn't realize was that Luxottica, right, which makes 90% of the sunglasses and owns 90% of the retail outlet for glasses, right? They own like was it Pearl Vision and some of the
Oh,
other
really?
like companies.
Okay.
Yeah. They own everything. You never hear of them, but they pretty much own everything as it relates to glasses. And and they wanted to buy Oakley because Oakley was like the trendiest glasses that were making money. And Oakley was like, we're a small family business. We want to stay a small family business. Okay. Now, Oakley could only sell their glasses, right? It was either because there wasn't really a lot of online going on back then. They could only sell their glasses through Luxottica, right? Through
Yeah.
one of the
Okay.
Luxottica stores. Well, Luxottica stopped carrying Oakley.
Oh,
Okay?
really?
And so they had this huge deal on the table for Oakley, okay? And what ended up happening? Oakley ended up going into bankruptcy and getting bought out by Luxottica out of bankruptcy because they had no retail outlets to sell their glasses because 90% of the market was taken up by Luxottica, right? People don't understand how these wealthy billionaire corporations, right, put small businesses out of business.
Yeah.
Okay? We love to talk about small businesses in this country, but you know who the government considers a small business? Facebook, Amazon. Like those are considered small fucking businesses in the world of the government. Okay? Right? Whereas everybody else is just nothing. We're all expendable.
Yeah.
Okay? So like we need like everybody keeps saying we need less regulation. No, that's not true. We need Glass-Steagall back. We need antitrust laws again.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
Securities laws.
we. What people don't understand is when these companies continue to merge and combine and all that kind of crap, that actually means less jobs for people, right? That means less
Yes.
choice, right? You think you have a choice of sunglasses, but you don't. All the sunglasses are made by the same freaking company. Okay? What they've done is they've given you the illusion of choice. These
Yes.
large corporations and conglomerates give you the illusion of choice, but you don't have a choice. It's either shop with them or don't get anything at all. Okay? And what we need more of is we need more regulation. We need better banking regulation. We need antitrust laws to break up these banks, break up these large corporations. By doing that, you'll end up with more jobs, right? Better incomes, right? You think about it, these large corporations, they don't where are you going to go? They don't have to pay anybody anything
Yeah.
because there are no other jobs. Like
Think about that.
this is what we need, right? And nobody talks about it. You don't even see Democrats talking about this shit.
Oh no.
But that's what that you want to talk about the American people, that's what the American people need. We need the law, the New Deal laws again back in place. We need more this idea that deregulation is what or is that too much regulate. No, regulation makes jobs.
There you go.
That's what it comes down to, right? We the all the green jobs that were created, there are more jobs in solar than there are in coal. Okay?
Yeah.
There are more jobs in solar, right? Like think of just you have to understand the economy. We have to understand the economy and these sound bites that these politicians give sound great to us, right? Because we personally don't like having all these laws on us. But think about it. They're making the laws on us to make us conform, to create order for us, to enslave us. Okay? The rich people aren't being regulated. The billionaires aren't being regulated. Billionaires can do whatever the fuck they want.
Yeah.
There's no regulation on them. In fact, they love when they put these laws in place that are so cumbersome that a small business can't operate. They love that shit because that gives them more of an ability to do whatever the hell they want. We need to break up the big companies. We need to streamline the regulation for small businesses, right, so that they can flourish, right? And we need to make these instead of creating regulation for large businesses that put small businesses out of place, out of business, we need to break up the big companies and make regulation for everybody that fits in with everybody, that lowers costs and lowers prices for all of us. And that can be done because it's been done before. We did that.
Kneel for president. I got a visitor here. Hang on. Come here. You.
Hold on. I agree with the above comment. We need to start organizing. We need to stop ICE before they occupy our communities. Yes. Agreed.
Yes.
Agreed, Marcy. I absolutely 100% agree with that. All right. Apparently, as I mentioned, there is a town board meeting, or Denise had mentioned there is a town board meeting in the town of Chester tomorrow. Town of Chester, I will say, knowing the supervisor there, the town of Chester has absolutely no say whatsoever in the building, in the PEP Boys being sold or in, the facility that may be coming. But I agree with Marcy. We definitely need to organize. We definitely need to prepare. That's one of the reasons why Denise and I started this podcast. It's one of the reasons why we encourage others to start their own local podcast. It's the reason why we try to link up with other local officials to find out what's happening in their community, create links to all our communities, because at the end of the day, all our communities are connected. We are all one. We are all Renee Nicole Good.
Yes. Thank you for that. And we're winding down here. We're just about at the end. Does anybody have any comments or any questions for us? And definitely, just to Neil's point, if you see something, look, I just want to make this point, and I've made it before. we have lost media. Media is in the conglomerates. They're all corporate. And you're lucky if you get them to report anything like what's happening in Minneapolis. They're not reporting that. You know, if you go back to the civil rights movement in the 60s, for the first time, what those people were going through, what the Black community was going through, was appearing on television. And it moved the public, and it led to civil rights reform. They're not doing that for us. They're not doing that for people, and now everybody's being harassed. The only place where it's getting seen is through social media, through YouTubers, through TikToks. And oh, thank you. Her name is Cosette. And that's how we're doing this, and that's the reason why it's so important. You know, you've got your phone handy. If you got to post things that you hear, you got to communicate and network. And this is how we're going to build a community from the ground up. We need to beat on the ground. So if you're around, go to tomorrow night's meeting. That's Wednesday, the 14th. That's the same location, 81 LaRoe Road.
No, it'll be at 1785, 86, Kings Highway.
Oh, Kings Highway. Okay, it's on Kings Highway. Okay, yes. So it'll be at 1785 Kings Highway. That's probably on the way to Sugarloaf, but not in Sugarloaf, right? Because yeah, okay. And so definitely go there. There'll be a meeting in the building, and I have a feeling there'll be another rally outside. So it's a good opportunity. Dress warm. Trust me. For those of you, my business is a mobile dog groomer, and I usually like to wear leggings, and the smocks that we wear are very thin. I did have some thermal underwear, and let me tell you, my toes were numb, my fingers were raw, and I was freezing, and I was just so wishing I had like a heated jacket or something. So
Right.
yeah, so just make sure if you do go out there, just be prepared, dress warm, have gloves, have a hat, and just be safe while you're out there. So
one thing I would like to announce that today, right, and anybody who knows me knows why this is important to me. All right, today is National Rubber Ducky Day.
Oh yes, Neil loves rubber duckies. Today is rubber ducky
day. So make sure that you celebrate and go out and either buy a rubber ducky or give a rubber ducky to a friend.
There you go. So with that, guys, we're going to close here. Please make sure you are subscribed to the channel so you get notified when I put new videos up. I'm going to get that other video up later on. I'll also get some content from the meeting. There were people who sang. There was a woman who sang a fantastic version of God Bless America. What a voice. So I'll get that up there for you to see. And, just hang in there. We're in this fight together. We love you all and appreciate your support. All right.